There is a moment almost every backyard birdwatcher experiences, yet very few people truly understand. 1 second, the trees are alive with songs, calls, and tiny conversations hidden among the branches. Then, without warning, everything stops. The entire backyard falls into a silence so complete that it almost feels unnatural, as if the world itself is holding its breath. Most people assume the birds simply flew away. That's exactly what I believed years ago. But after spending more than 3 decades quietly observing birds from my own backyard, I learned that this sudden silence is rarely random. More often than not, it's one of nature's oldest warning systems quietly unfolding before our eyes. What changed the way I see birds forever wasn't hearing another beautiful song. It was learning to pay attention to the moments when there was no song at all. Once you recognize what that silence is trying to tell you, you'll never walk into a quiet backyard the same way again. Before we continue, I'd like to mention that the observations, stories, and visual recreations you'll see are narrative interpretations inspired by real bird behavior, established backyard birding practices, and many years of personal observation. This video is created for educational, entertainment, and informational purposes to help you better understand backyard birds. If you enjoy discovering the hidden language of nature, I'd truly appreciate it if you subscribed and left a like. Now, let me share the quiet afternoon that taught me silence can sometimes speak louder than birdsong. I'd like to add something personal before we go any further. Every time my backyard suddenly falls silent, I have the unmistakable feeling that nature has noticed something before I have. It reminds me that despite all our technology and routines, we still see only a small part of what is happening around us. Birds, on the other hand, have spent countless generations refining their ability to recognize subtle changes that most of us completely overlook. One afternoon, I was sitting on my porch enjoying what had started as an ordinary chorus of sparrows, chickadees, and finches. Then, almost instantly, every song disappeared. Not one bird called. Not one flutter of cheerful chatter remained. At first, I thought the birds had simply wandered elsewhere. But after years of watching these patterns repeat themselves, I resisted the urge to jump to conclusions. Instead, I waited. Only moments later did I notice a neighborhood cat moving slowly beneath the shrubs, carefully stalking a sparrow that had landed near the fence. The silence had not been an accident. It had been a coordinated response, a warning spreading through the community of birds long before I had recognized the danger myself. This is one of the most fascinating lessons backyard birds can teach us. Their songs aren't only beautiful, they are part of an ongoing conversation that constantly changes depending on what they perceive around them. When everything suddenly becomes quiet, it often means that communication has shifted from attracting mates or maintaining social bonds to something far more urgent: survival. Different species contribute to this invisible network in different ways. Some birds give sharp alarm calls when they spot a predator. Others become completely still, avoiding any movement or sound that might reveal their location. Many species also pay close attention to the warnings given by their neighbors, even when they belong to different kinds of birds. Over countless generations, this shared awareness has become one of nature's most effective survival strategies. That's why the silence itself becomes information. Many beginners assume that a quiet backyard means there are fewer birds visiting. In reality, the birds may still be there, hidden among dense branches, remaining perfectly still while they evaluate whether the threat has passed. The absence of sound doesn't necessarily mean the absence of life. Sometimes it means life is being extraordinarily cautious. The longer I observe these moments, the more I realize that silence is rarely empty. It's often filled with hundreds of tiny decisions happening all at once. Every bird is measuring risk, watching for movement, and waiting until the environment feels safe again. Once you begin recognizing these patterns, birdwatching changes completely. Instead of asking, "Where did the birds go?" you'll begin asking, "What made them stop feeling safe?" That single question opens an entirely different way of understanding your backyard. You don't need expensive equipment to notice these things. Spend a few quiet mornings listening before you start looking. Notice how the rhythm of birdsong changes throughout the day. Watch whether several species become silent together or whether only one disappears. Look carefully at the trees, the ground, nearby fences, rooftops, and the open sky. Sometimes the reason is a stalking cat. Other times it may be a hawk gliding overhead, a crow passing through, or another disturbance the birds detected long before we ever could. With patience, you will also notice the songs gradually returning. A more confident bird lets out a cautious call. Another answers, then another. Little by little, the backyard comes back to life. This gradual return tells its own story. The immediate danger has passed, and the birds are beginning to trust their surroundings once more. And perhaps this is the lesson that transformed me the most. Birds don't visit places simply because food is available. They return to spots where they consistently feel safe. Understanding why they suddenly go silent is just the first step. Learning to create an environment that subtly conveys safety and trust is what truly transforms a backyard over time. If today's story made you see your backyard in a new light, and you'd like to apply these same principles where you live, that is exactly why I created the Backyard Bird Trust Guide. In it, I share the practical approach I developed over more than 30 years of careful observation, showing how small changes can help create a space where birds naturally feel safe enough to keep coming back. The guide also includes practical resources to help you build these habits with confidence. If you'd like to continue this journey, you'll find the QR code here on the screen. Change the atmosphere of your backyard and come join a community of bird lovers. After all these years, the greatest lesson the birds have taught me is wonderfully simple. When a backyard earns their trust, they often show it to you long before they do the same for anyone else. So tomorrow morning, if you happen to step outside with a warm cup of coffee and your backyard suddenly falls silent, don't rush to fill that quiet with assumptions. Don't immediately think the birds have disappeared or that something has gone wrong. Pause for a moment. Take a slow look around. Watch the trees, the fence posts, the shrubs, and even the open sky. Notice how still everything feels. You may not immediately discover what the birds have already noticed, but simply asking yourself, "What are they trying to tell me?" changes the way you experience your backyard forever. Looking back, I don't believe the greatest lesson birds ever taught me was how to identify their songs or recognize different species. It was learning that silence has a language of its own, a language built on awareness, patience, trust, and survival. Once you begin listening to that language, every visit to your backyard becomes a little more meaningful. Perhaps that's why I've never grown tired of watching birds after all these years. Every morning brings another opportunity to learn something new. Sometimes it's a cheerful chorus welcoming the sunrise. Other times it's a few quiet minutes that reveal just how remarkable these small creatures truly are. Both moments have something valuable to teach us, if we're willing to pay attention. Thank you for spending a little of your day with me. I hope the next time your backyard grows quiet, you'll hear that silence a little differently than you did before. Until next time, keep observing patiently, keep learning from nature, and little by little, build a backyard where birds feel safe enough to choose your home again. I'm Walter Hayes, and I'll see you in the next video. Take care.